Yo, what's up, YouTube? How you doing? My name's R.O. and this is the richest man in Babylon. See here, I wrote it. I actually drew this nice little picture, but I wrote it here in my own affirmation journal, and I'm just reaffirming it here to the camera, so you can literally just like listen to the book. But anyways, so this is the clay tablets from Babylon. Basically, like this is my version of a clay tablet, right? Anyways, on this here, my dear professor, the 5 clay tablets from your recent excavation in the ruins of Babylon, and this took place in October 21st of 1434 here in British of Columbia in a scientific expedition in Nottingham, far off from this college. But anyways, here we have our Mr. Dear Professor now. And within the 5 days of this excavation of the ruins of Babylon, they had arrived the same boat with your letter. I have been fascinated by no end, and have spent many pleasant hours translating their inscription. I should have answered your letter at once, but delayed until I have completed the translations which have been attached. The tablets arrived without damage, thanks to your carefully used options of preservatives, and thanks to your careful options of excellent packing. You will be as astonished we will have in the laboratory as the science here to relate. One expects the dim and distant past to speak of romance and adventure. Arabian Nights sort of things, you know. And this man was named Dabsir. To pay off his debts, once realized that the conditions upon his old world have not changed as much in 5,000 years as one might have expected. It's odd, you know, but the old inscriptions rather rage me. As the students say, being a college professor, I am supposed to be thinking as a human being possessing a workshop of knowledge of most subjects. Yet here comes this old chap out of the dust-covered ruins of Babylon to offer a way I had never heard to pay off my debts, and at the same time acquire gold in the jingle of my wallet. Pleasant thought, I'd say, and interesting to prove whether it would work nowadays as if it was the old Babylon. Miss Shrewsbury and myself are planning to try to put out his plan in our own affairs, which could be much improved. Wishing you the best of luck in your worthy undertaking and waiting eagerly another opportunity to assist, I am. Yours sincerely, Alfred Shrewsbury, Department of Archaeology. Here is tablet number 1 of the Tablets of Babylon. Now, when the moon became full, I, Daspir, who am but recently returned from slavery in Syria with a determination to pay, may just be all of the debts, a man of means worthy of respect in my native city of Babylon. Do you engrave upon the clay a permanent record of my affairs to guide and assist me in carrying through my high desires. Under this wise advice of my good friend Mathan, the gold lender, I am determined to follow an exact plan that does say, lead any honorable man out of debt into means of self-respect. This plan includes 3 purposes of which my hopes and are of my desires. First, the plan does provide for my future prosperity, therefore 1/10 of all I earn shall be set aside by my own to keep. For Mathan speaketh wisely, then he says, that man who keepeth in his purse both gold and silver, that he need not to spend, is good for his family, and loyal to his king. The man who has but a few coppers in his purse is indifferent to his family and indifferent to his king. But the man who has not in his purse unkind to his family, and is disloyal to his king, for his own heart is bitter. Therefore the man who wishes to achieve must have coin that may keep to jingle in his purse, that he have in his heart love for his family and loyalty to his king. Second, the plan does provide that I shall support and clothe my good wife, who hath returned to me with loyalty from the house of her father. For Mathan does say that to take good care of a faithful wife, put them in self-respect into the heart of a man, adds strength and determination to his purposes. Therefore 7/10 of all I earn shall be used to provide home, clothes to wear, and food to eat, with a bit extra to spend, that our lives may not be lacking in pleasure and enjoyment. But he does further enjoy the greatness care that is unspent of the 7/10 I earn for those worthy purposes. Herein lieth the success of the plans. I must live upon this portion and never use more than I buy, that I may not pay for out of this portion. Tablet number 2. Third, the plan, tablet. The plan does provide that out of my earnings my debt shall be paid. Therefore, each time the moon is full, 10 of all I've earned shall be divided honorably and favorably among those who have trusted me and to whom I am indebted. This is in due time will be all my indebtedness will be surely paid. Therefore do I have engraved the name of every man to whom I am indebted, an honest amount of debt. Here it's listed out. Fire. We're gonna make these names up because this is kind of an old book. Fire, the cloth weaver, 2 silver, 6 copper. Sinjar, the couch maker, 1 silver. Ahamar, my friend, 3 silver, 1 copper. Zankar, my friend, 4 silver, 7 copper. Ask Amir, my friend, 1 silver, 3 copper. Aha, the drill maker, 6 silver, 2 copper. Dai, my father's friend, 4 silver, 1 copper. Alkahad, the house owner, 14 silver. Mathan, the gold lender, 9 silver. Bayerjik, the farmer, 1 silver, 7 copper. From here on, disintegrating and cannot be deciphered. Tablet number 3. To those creditors do I owe in total 119 pieces of silver and 141 pieces of copper, because I did owe these sums and saw no way to repay. In my folly, I did have to return my wife to her father, as if she did leave to a native city and seek easy wealth elsewhere, only to find disaster and to see myself sold into this sort of slavery. Now that Mathan does show me how I can repay my debts in small sums of my earnings, do I realize the great extent of my folly in the running away of the results of these extravagances. Therefore, I have visited my creditor and explained to them that I have no resources with which to pay except my ability to earn, and that intend to apply 2/10 of all I earn upon my indebtedness evenly and honestly. This much I can pay, but no more. Therefore, if they be patient in time, my obligations will be paid in full. Amar, whom I thought was my best friend, reviled to me bitterly, and I left him in humiliation. Bayerjek, the farmer, pleaded that I pay him first as he did. Badly he needed help. Alkahad, the house owner, was indeed dismantled and insisted that he would make trouble unless I didn't pay and settle in full with him. All of the rest willingly accepted my proposal. Therefore, I am more determined than ever to carry through, being convinced that it is easier to pay one's just debts than it is to avoid them, even though I cannot meet the needs and demands of a few of my creditors. I will deal impartially with all. Again, this is tablet number, I do believe this is tablet number 4. This is actually like tablet number like 6, but in the book we're on tablet number 4. Anyways, again, laughing at myself. Again, the moon shines full. I have worked hard with a free mind. My good wife has supported my intentions to pay my creditors. Because of our wise determination, I have earned during the past moon, buying camels of sound wind and good legs, the lands here of the 19 pieces of silver that have been divided according to the plan. 1/10 I have set aside to keep as my own. 7/10 are as I divided with my good fortune, my good wife, to pay for our living. 2/10 have I divided among my creditors evenly as it could be done in coppers. I did not see Amar, but left it with his wife. Bayerjek was pleased he could kiss my hand. Old Alcahad alone was grouchy and said I must pay faster, to which I replied that if we're permitted to be well fed and not worried, that alone would enable to be paid faster. All the others thanked me and spoke well of my efforts. Therefore, at the end of one moon, my indebtedness is reduced by almost 4 pieces of silver, and I possess almost 2 pieces of silver, besides upon which no man has claim. My heart is lighter than it has been for a long time. Again the moon shines, and it is full. I have worked hard, but with poor success. Few camels have been able to buy. Only 11 pieces of silver I have earned. Nevertheless, my good wife and I have stood by the plan, even though we have brought no new raiment and eaten little but herbs. Again, I paid ourselves 1/10 of the 11 pieces, and while we lived upon the 7/10, I was surprised when Ammar commended my payment, even though it was small. So did Barja. Alcahad flew into a rage when he told to give back his portion if he did not wish he had become reconciled. The others, as before, were content. Again the moon shines full, and I am greatly rejoiced. I intercepted a fine herd of camels and bought many sound ones. Therefore my earnings were 42 pieces of silver. This moon my wife and myself have brought much needed sandals and raiment. Also we have dined well. More than 8 pieces of silver have been paid to our creditors. Even Alcahad did not protest. Great is for the plan of the leader out of debt, and gives us wealth which is ours to keep. 3 times the moon had been full since I had last carved upon that day. Each time I paid to myself 1/10 of all I earned. Each time my good wife and I had lived upon 7/10. That times it was difficult. Each time I had to pay my creditors 2/10. In my purse I now have 21 pieces of silver that are mine. It makes my head stand straight up on my shoulders, and makes me proud to walk among my friends. My wife keeps all our well home, and is becoming very well grounded. We are happy to live together. The plan is of untold value. Has that not made an honorable man of an ex-slave? Tablet number 5. Again, the moon shines full, and I remember that it is a long since I carved upon the clay. 12 moons and the truth have come and gone, but this day I will not neglect my record, because upon this day I have paid the last of my debts. This is the day upon which my good wife and my thankful self celebrate with good feasting, with our thought determination that we have achieved. Many things occurred upon this final visit to my creditors that I shall long remember. Ammar begged my forgiveness for his unkind words, and said that I was one of the others he most desired for a friend. Old Alcahad is not so bad after all, for he said, thou once a piece of soft clay had been pressed and molded by any hand that touched thee, but the art of peace is bronze, and is capable of holding an edge. If thou needest a silver or of gold at any time, come home. Nor is the only one who holds the gold and is in high regard. Many others speak differently to me. My good wife looketh upon me with a light in her eyes that does make a man have more confidence in himself. Yet it is the plan that has made my success. It had enabled me to pay all my debts, and to jingle both gold and silver in my purse. I do commend to all who wish to get ahead, for truly if it will enable any ex-slave to pay his debts and have a gold in his purse, will it not aid any man to find independence? Nor am I myself finished with it, for I am convinced that if I follow it further, it will make me rich among men. My dear Professor, Franklin Caldwell of British Scientific Expedition in November 17th, 1936, out of Nottingham, a college university. If you further digging up into those ruins of Babylon, you will encounter the ghost of a former resident, an old camel trader named Dabasir, and do me a favor. Tell him that he is scribbling upon these clay tablets so long ago has earned him a lifelong life of gratitude. Of a couple college folks back here in England, it will be possible to remember my writing a year ago that Miss Shrewsbury and myself intended to try his plan for getting out of debt and at the same time having the gold to jingle. You may have guessed, even though we tried to keep it from our friends, our desperate straits, we were frightfully humiliated for years by a lot of old debts and worried sick for fear of some tradespeople might start a scandal which force us out of college. We paid and paid every shilling we could squeeze out of income, but it was hardly enough to hold the things even. Besides, we were forced to do our buying where we could get further credit regardless of higher costs. It developed into one of those vicious cycles that grow worse instead of better. Our struggles were getting hopeless. We could not have more to less costly rooms because we owed the landlord. There did not appear to be anything we could do to improve our situation. Then here comes your acquaintance, the old camel trader from Babylon, with a plan to do just what we wished to accomplish. He jolly well stirred us up to follow his system. We made a list of all our debts, and I looked at it and around and showed it to everyone we owed. I explained how it was simply impossible for one to ever pay them the way things were going along. They could readily see this themselves from the figures. Then I explained that the way I saw to pay in full was to set aside 20% of all my income each month to be divided into a portion which would be paid in full in a little over 2 years. That in the meantime would go on a cash basis and give them the further benefit of our cash purchases. They were really quite decent. Our greengrocer, a wise old chap, put it in the way that helped to bring around the rest. If you pay for all you buy, then you pay for some on what you owe. It is better than you have done, for you haven't paid down the account now in 3 years. Finally, I secured all the names to an agreement binding them not on the molest as long of the 20% of the income as it was paid regularly. Then we began scheming on how to live upon 70%. We were determined to keep that extra 10% of jingle. The thought of silver and possible gold was most alluring. It was like having an adventure to make the change. We enjoyed figuring this way and that to live comfortably upon the remaining 70%. We started with the rent and managed to secure a fair reduction. Next, we put our favorite bands of tea and under such suspicion and were agreeably surprised at how often they would be purchased by their superior qualities at less cost. It is so long a story for a letter, but anyhow, it did not prove difficult. We managed. And right cheerfully at that, what a relief it proved to have for our affairs in such a shape we were no longer prosecuted by past due accounts. I must not neglect, however, to tell you about that extra 10% we were supposed to jingle. Well, we did jingle it for some time. Now, don't laugh too soon. You see that it is the sporty part. It is the real fun, to start accumulating money that you don't want to spend. There is more pleasure in running up such a surplus than there could be in spending it. After we had jingled our hearts' content, we found a more profitable use for it. We took upon an investment upon which we could pay them 10% each month. This is proving to be the most satisfying part of our regeneration. It is the first thing we pay out of the check. This is the most gratifying sense of security, to know our investment is growing steadily. By the time my teaching days are over, it should be a snug sum, large enough so the income will take care of us from then on. All of this out of some old check, difficult to believe yet absolutely true. All our debts being gradually paid and out of the same time, our investment is increasing. Besides, we get along financially even better than before. Who would believe that there'd be such a difference in results between a financial plan and just drifting along? At the end of the next year, when all our old bills shall have been paid, we will have more to pay upon our investment besides some extra for travel. We are determined never again to permit our living expenses to exceed 70% of our income. Now you can understand why we would like to extend our personal thanks to that old chap whose plan saved us from hell on earth. He knew. He had been through it all. He wanted others to benefit from his own bitter experiences. That is why he spent tedious hours carving his message upon the clay. He had a real message for the fellow and for the sufferer, a message so important that after 5,000 years it has risen out of the ruins of Babylon, just as true and just as vital as the day it was buried. Yours sincerely, Alfred Shrewsbury, Department of Department of Archaeology. That's the clay tablets of Babylon. The 5 clay tablets. Like I said, this was my affirmation video. I just wrote it here from the book, wrote it here, and then I speak it to you. So I think about it twice. But yeah, it's just the best way to practice gratitude. But anyways, my name is R.O., and until the next video, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.